Hey gang! I went and got my Wensleydale Gotland cross fleece from drying racks in the basement. You can see the video on this earlier. There's two of them. And as I was looking at it, I got an idea. I know. You're all like, oh no, Damson got an idea. What's she gonna do that's crazy this time? Well, here's my crazy. This is what I want to do. I want to take these beautiful white locks and I want to leave them white. And I want to tail spin, so it's not going to be an extreme tail spin. They don't have that much length, and I did felt the butts a little bit, so. But I want to spin this into a tail spun yarn, and then I want to ply it with the single made out of the dyed locks, because the shine and silkiness of this is amazing. So to maximize that shine and silkiness, I will need to do a full worsted process prep, the whole 9 yards. So I've got my combs. I just grabbed my Lewitt mini combs. I love these. They're double rows and I beat the tar out of them, as you can see by the tines. But with my little hands, I love the flat handle. Is so much easier to grip than the round handles that are on most combs. And they're not huge, so you can only do a little bit at a time, and that's fine by me. I can work with that. Wow, that's quite the hairdo I got going on today, hey guys? Oh, I tell you, I'm a class act. Hold on. Here's a surprise. I need coffee. Oh, so good. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to comb these and spin this into a single, and I'll show you what we're going to do, and we'll go over how to maximize the shine and the silkiness of this fiber. So this will be video number 3 on the Wensleydale Gotland cross fleece that I bought. Let's get ready to rumble. Coffee first. So, yes, I am still in my pajamas. Do I feel bad about it? Not in the least. I do a lot of work in my PJs. So, the first thing I want to do is make the colored single we're going to ply with the white lock spun. So, I am going to load the fiber onto my comb. Can you see it there? Yeah. Just going to take the butts and lash them on. If you can hear the fan running in the background, that's on my computer. I'm uploading the next sit and spin as I do this. So see, look at all this stuff I'm doing at the same time. Now, I don't know how much blending we're going to get in this, but I'm just going to stick to blue and green for now. And we'll see what happens when we comb it, because I don't know how much I'm going to have to comb it. I suspect not a whole lot. And I'm just picking out locks, slapping them on. All right. So that's probably good. I could put a little more on, but once we start combing this, you got to remember it's going to fluff right up and it's going to move, fill more of your combs. So you don't want to overload. I often underload, and then that way I don't run into trouble. So you want to work 90 degrees. Catch your tips. And make sure that it doesn't flop over on you. So generally what I do is I comb away and then flip it to make sure that my fiber isn't bending back like this. Can you see that? How the fiber comes back up and hooks on the combs? You don't want that to happen. There again. Now usually I'll clamp it to a table or something for combing, but I'm working at my wheel today. And this is what I do when I want to spin from the combs. I took a little bit too much of a bite there. You can tell by the sound of the drag. Yes, I want to spin right up my wheel today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work right off my combs. And if you're, oops, that one popped off whole. Let's slash that back on, butt end. If you're processing your fleece somewhere else, you can just go through the process, diz it, make a nest, and then bring that to your wheel. I'm just going to wiggle this around because it doesn't want to let go. It really doesn't want to come off of there. I'm just going to leave it for now, and we'll see if we can get it in the next pass. So we've got our tip end on this side, our butt end on this side. Now the way that I avoid losing track is I just keep my combs in the same hand. So I'll know the tip is always on the right hand side. So now I'm going to go down. Now I will put the tines towards me when I'm going down onto this comb because it's not moving towards my body. I'm not going to stab myself in the guts, which I have done. Ask me how I know. Yes, I am that coordinated. This is fluffing up so gorgeous. All right, this part's pretty tangled, so I'm going to put that aside for carding later, and we'll use that up then. But you can see, like, there's, I think, one little chunk of veggie matter in that. Otherwise, it's just tangled fiber. This is such a clean fleece. Now, there's a knot right there that I can see. I'm just going to comb that, see if we can get it out. There we go. And add that back to the fiber. Take that little nasty bit out. So before I start combing, because I've gone, oh, sorry, I have to stop and pet. This is so soft. All right, before I comb, you can see on the back of the comb how snarled and tangled it is. Now, if I just go straight to combing, that is going to make it very difficult to get it to come off the comb. So I just take my thumb and push it up a bit. And you saw how much fiber we started with, how little we started. You can see now that it's fluffing up, how much of the comb it takes up space. Now, I have a couple of locks like this that aren't broken up yet, so I'm going to go back and forth one more time. And this time I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up, trying to get those locks to split up. All right, so this one's just not opening up, so I'm just going to take it right off. It just doesn't want to cooperate, so I'm just going to put it aside and we'll do something else with it. Now, technically combing waste, there's a lot of it, but I don't consider it waste because this is just the first step. You can then recomb your combing waste. You can card it. You can use it for felting. Like, there's no reason to waste it. Now I am going to comb towards myself, but I'm going to turn the comb away from me so I'm not actually aiming at myself. Now it's getting snarly again, so I'm just going to wiggle with my thumb on the back of the comb and just try to loosen that up. And then go again, see if I can get any more off. All right, it's pretty much done transferring, but you can see there's still a lot of good fiber on there. So I'm going to save that and we'll go through that again. Now, here's where we enter the age-old debate of, do you spin from the tip or from the butt? You can make your own choice based on the anatomy of the wool. Wool has scales, and the scales grow this way. No, wait, this is the tip, so they grow this way, butt to tip. So if you spin from the butt, you will be smoothing those scales, leading to a smoother yarn, which is an accepted and valid excuse for doing it that way. But because the scales grow this way, if you spin from the tip, you will open up those scales a bit and allow them to cling to each other more. I prefer to spin either way, depending. I'm not really hung up on either method, but the most important thing is to always do it the same way. I believe I am going to spin from the butt because I want to make as silky, smooth a yarn as I possibly can. So I'm going to stop at this point and I'm going to spin right from this comb. I'm going to just loosen my fab up a little bit. And I am going to spin S, spin Z, ply S. So spin clockwise, ply counterclockwise. Important to remember for when I go to ply them, I want them both spun in the same direction. So just get a little tip there, get onto my leader. All right, now it's time to consider what I'm making. Because this is a very long wool, I can spin it very thin. I want to up my tension though. Now what I don't want to do is I don't want to make wire. So I want it to have, it's not attached to my leader anymore. I want it to have enough twist to cling together, but I don't want it to have so much twist that it becomes stiff. So you can see there I don't have quite enough twist. But even without too much twist, it's still a fairly strong yarn because it's such a long staple. So what I'm going to do, now this is the loop leader or split leader conversation. Again, make your own choice. In this case, I'm going to make a loop and I am going to decrease, use a larger whirl so it's less twist per inch for every treadle, because I tend to be a very fast treadler and I don't want to make wire. So I'm going to pull that through, fold it back on itself, start treadling, and draft off of that. And I'm smoothing the yarn as the twist goes in to make a very nice worsted spun yarn. And basically, I'm just drafting off the cones. So you can just use your middle finger here to sort of guide the fibers to your drafting triangle and just sort of work your way across the comb. Now I want to check and make sure that I am getting enough twist per inch. So I'm going to pull a bit off the bobbin and hold on, I'm going to put that there. And then I will let it ply back on itself. And that makes a pretty nice low twist ply, which is what I want, because I don't want it to be wiry. You can see how this has got flex to it. If you add too much twist with the long wool, you will end up crushing any hand to it. Let me show you here. Let's get this on here. Now, I'm going to add way too much twist here. I'm adding a ton of twist. All right, let's see how it turns out. Just going to walk that off so I can pull here. You can see it's got a lot of twist in it now. It really wants to ply back on itself. So, ply back sample. Boing. And you can see how it's starting to lose some of that drape and that flexibility. That's still not a ton of twist. That's an acceptable yarn. It's actually very soft and silky. And it turned out really pretty, actually. But the more twist you add to a long wool, the more ropey it's going to feel. So if you've made a yarn with a long wool and you feel like, I'm never going to spin with a long wool again because it came out so gross, it may not be the wool itself. It may be just the spinning technique. Oops, I snapped it. There we go. So try spinning it again with a much lower twist and see how the hand is when you're done. And you can see how I'm just drafting across the comb. Then I'll push down to kind of get to the next level. And I'm just guiding that into that drafting triangle. And then smoothing my fingers down as the twist goes in to make for as smoothest yarn I can make. I'm not very good at smooth yarns. I like texture, but technically, these are the techniques you use. Draft it out so it's nice and smooth, and let the twist in. And just work your way across the comb. Now, I love doing this, just sitting, combing a little bit of fiber, spinning it, comb a little bit of fiber and spin it. I love to see the progress. So I can see my bobbin filling as I'm combing and spinning, and it's immediate satisfaction for me. You may find this is really annoying, that you have to keep stopping to comb more fiber before you can spin some more. So it's really a matter of personal choice. But either way is perfectly valid. It's all about how you want to do your stuff. And this is just a favorite of mine. I find this so pleasant and relaxing that I do this all the time. So I'll just keep spinning until I get to the point where the fibers are getting fuzzy because they're the shorter bits. At which point I'll take them off the combs and then I'll comb up a fresh batch and go back to spinning. So you can see here, there is a little nep in my worsted. So I'm just going to pluck that out so it doesn't wreck my really nice thin ply that I'm going to use to ply my tailspin. Okay, that's getting too thin, so I just grab it ahead and rejoin the fiber. to beef it up a bit. Oh, holy, I'm getting really thin here. So what I'm going to do, because it seems like I'm just keep getting thin, I must be changing. Yes, you can see. This is the last of the longest stuff, and then we drop down to here. So as I'm drafting off here, I'm only getting these little fibers, and it's getting too thin. So I'm just going to draft a little bit off the combs and sort of pull it into a roving. Now I'm going to join my fiber here, 90-degree angle, let the tips catch, then draft it down. So now it's like drafting off the end of a roving. And I just used my other fingers to kind of encourage the fibers into that drafting triangle. And you can see I'm not really good at being smooth. My smoothness comes and goes. I get fluffy bits and then smooth bits. It's just a quirk of mine. I've accepted it. I mean, if you want the perfect worsted spun, absolutely take the time to fix that. Just break off that chunk, rejoin your yarn, and go again. For me, I like character. So little bits and drabs and little fuzzy bits, to me, just prove that it's hand spun. I like mine to have a little bit more of a, I guess you'd call it a rustic feel. I've never been a perfectionist. I never will be a perfectionist, but I understand the desire to do that. So by all means, you do what makes you happy. If you want it to be perfectly worsted the whole way, then take the time to correct those bits, or you're not going to be happy with your yarn. And in the end, that's all we want. We want to make yarn that makes us happy. Or we want to enjoy the process of making yarn, in which case making yarn makes us happy. But do it in a way that you enjoy. I embrace chaos. I'm not a terribly structured person, and my yarn reflects my personality. It is perfectly usable. It can be balanced and strong, but it's never going to be 100% perfect because I just don't like perfection. Now you can see here, it got a little loopy, and I'm fine with that. Now I'm getting towards the end of the fiber, getting into the shorter bits that are left on the comb. At any point now, you can stop, comb some new fiber, go again. I'm going to keep going for a little bit. But normally you'd want to take these shorter bits out of your worsted spun. All right, now I'm starting to get little poofs and naps and stuff, and I'm trying to avoid those, so I'm going to pull that out, and I'm going to comb up some more yarn and keep spinning. So there's what's left on my comb. There's some locks that didn't quite get all the way opened up, and short bits. But this is still like usable fiber. I could comb this again and pull it into a roving to make it easier to work with. But I will just add it to my save for later pile. And I will use this to do other processes. So I spent a lovely day just spinning away. This ended up being the singles I got from the combed locks. You can see it's got a pretty nice shine, a low halo. It's pretty strong, but still soft and nice. So I lock spun some of the locks. And because they're not extreme length, they're just short. So you only get this little bit of fluff instead of like long tails. And I did ply it with the singles. And as you can see, I should have made my singles thicker because you can't really see the color through the floof. Then I thought, well, why don't I try doing just a textured lock spun and then ply it with the singles and see how it turns out. So a little better, you can see the color, maybe not, but there are bits of color in these bits that you can see. But again, I should have spun it thicker singles. So my little idea is not totally crap. I just need to adjust and make my first single thicker so the color will show through more. But I think the end result is going to be kind of cool because you will get that background of color and the foreground of the texture. That's my theory anyways. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these singles that I still have, and I will probably chain ply this to make it thicker. And then I will try again. And I'm just, I think, going to go with just the textured yarn. It's faster to make, and for this little experiment, I don't want to spend a whole pile of time because I'm just working on proof of concept. And this yarn is all perfectly usable already, so it's not like I'm sacrificing this. I can still use this, but I do want to see if I can get the color to pop a little more. So I will chain ply this and then make some more lock spun, ply them, and we'll see where we're at. It's all about the experimenting. You get an idea, try it. It doesn't work, tweak it a bit, see if it works now. I may end up just giving up on the whole idea, but I'm not quite ready to do that yet. So let's give it another go. So I spent some time watching Supernatural and playing with my fleece and spinning it. So I chain plied my single, and I did a single of textured yarn, and then I plied them together, and look, this was what I was hoping for. You can see how the color doesn't overwhelm the white. It's there in the background. Now I think if we knit this up, it will make a really interesting effect. It will give it that background color with the white clouds on top. So what I'm going to do is do some knitting with this and then with some long locks, and I'll do a video on how to knit with your lock spun yarn. And that will be a tutorial for a little bit later, but we have our start for that and I'm excited. So thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little foray into Tamsin Has an Idea again. If you like this, do the stuff, because I do stuff like this all the time. And thanks for joining me, guys.